There comes a moment in every person's life when the invisible hand of destiny begins to move. You cannot see it, not with the eyes of flesh, but you feel it. Deep within you, something shifts. A whisper not heard with the ears begins to rise within the soul. That whisper is not ordinary. It is divine. It is the voice of purpose summoning you to rise. If you are seeing the signs I am about to speak of, know without a shadow of a doubt. God is leading you to wealth not just in your pocket, but in your mind, your mission, and your entire existence. You begin to feel restless. You walk through your routine, yet it doesn't fulfill you anymore. You can't ignore the inner nudge that says, you were made for more. Not because you're greedy, but because you're hungry. Hungry for impact, for freedom, for expansion. That holy discomfort is not to be silenced. It is your calling. It is the sign that your spirit is growing faster than your circumstances. You can no longer pretend to be satisfied with mediocrity. This yearning is not accidental. It is heavenly agitation designed to provoke you into motion. Suddenly, things begin to shift around you. Unexpected opportunities show up. You meet people you never thought you'd meet. You get a phone call that leads to a connection, a chance, a door. And you realize, I didn't force this, I was guided to it. These aren't coincidences. They are divine alignments. The moment you say yes to purpose, the universe begins to conspire to assist you. That alignment is sacred. When opportunity begins knocking without you chasing, you're not lucky. You're being led. Then comes another transformation, a quiet revolution within your habits. You stop making excuses. You start showing up earlier, you get focused. You say no to distractions without guilt. Nobody has to tell you what to do anymore. There's a fire inside you now, a sacred drive. You are being refined for the wealth you've prayed for. God does not give you the blessing before you become the vessel capable of holding it. Your discipline is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the training ground of kings and queens who are about to rise. And then your mind begins to change. You stop thinking only about yourself. You begin to see how your gifts could serve others. You ask questions like, who can I help? And whose burden can I lift? And with that shift, the floodgates begin to open. Because wealth flows toward those who solve problems, who create value, who serve with authenticity. The selfish mind repels abundance, but the service-driven heart magnetizes it. When you start thinking beyond yourself, you have stepped into divine commerce. But it's not all smooth. In fact, the life you once lived begins to fall apart. The friendships, the habits, the environments that once felt normal now feel toxic. You can't tolerate small talk. You can't stand wasting time. You feel out of place, almost like a stranger among your old circle. That discomfort is not cruelty. It is the sign that you are evolving. You are being set apart. What once entertained you now insults your spirit. Do not fight it. That discomfort is a holy transition. God removes what no longer fits when He's preparing you to receive what you've never had. And then comes the test in the delays, the closed doors, the silence, and you begin to question, did I hear wrong? Did I miss my moment? No, you didn't miss it. You are being protected. Delays are not denials, they are divine shields. God is orchestrating things behind the curtain. Sometimes the path is paused so your character can catch up with your calling. Sometimes the door stays closed because you're not meant to walk through it. You're meant to build your own. When setbacks start to feel strategic, that is your confirmation. You are on the right path. So if you are seeing these signs, the restless hunger, the unexpected doors, the growing discipline, the shift from self to service, the dissatisfaction with your old life, and even the divine delays. Understand this, you are not losing your mind. You are finding your purpose. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. You are not just dreaming. You are being called. Wealth is not random. It is not for the lucky few. It is for the brave. It is for the prepared. It is for those who listen, obey, and persist even when nothing makes sense. God never calls the perfect. He perfects the called. You are being summoned to rise, to become the person who can carry the weight of divine wealth with integrity, with vision, and with wisdom. Do not shrink. Do not doubt. The signs are speaking. Heaven is waiting on your decision. You are not ordinary, you are chosen. Step forward not with fear, but with faith. The path has already been cleared. Walk boldly. Wealth is not coming. It has already been set in motion. Now it's your time to receive it. Not just in your hands, but in your heart, your mind, and your mission. Because when God leads you to wealth, He doesn't just want you to possess riches. He wants you to become rich in purpose, rich in love, rich in service, and rich in legacy. And when you finally receive what's been stored for you all along, remember, it wasn't luck. It was obedience. There comes a time in life when comfort no longer feels comfortable. You can't quite explain it to others, and honestly, you may not fully understand it yourself. Everything on the outside might appear fine. You have food, shelter, routine. Yet on the inside, a quiet storm is brewing. A deep, almost sacred restlessness begins to rise within you. It's not about greed. It's not about simply wanting more money or possessions. It's about feeling as if something greater is calling you. It's a pull towards something beyond your current level. A voice that refuses to be ignored. You try to silence it, but it keeps returning stronger, clearer. It speaks in moments of silence. It speaks when you look in the mirror. It speaks when you're alone, asking yourself, is this all there is? This restlessness is not an accident. It's not a flaw. It's divine. It's the inner alarm clock of your soul going off, letting you know that your time to rise has come. You weren't created just to survive. You were created to build, to contribute, to create impact. That discomfort you're feeling is the growing pain of purpose. You've outgrown the life that once felt like enough. You've tasted stability. Now your soul hungers for significance, that pull to do more, to become more, to step into something bigger. It's your spirit recognizing that there is untapped potential inside you, and that God is beginning to activate it. And what's fascinating is, this restlessness doesn't come with a clear road map. It doesn't explain itself. It simply stirs your spirit and demands your attention. You might try to distract yourself with entertainment, business, or even other people's approval, but nothing seems to settle you. That's because your spirit cannot be satisfied by anything smaller than the mission it was created for. You are beginning to feel misaligned with your surroundings because your inner world has started to expand. You feel disconnected from the shallow conversations, the repetitive routines, and the small thinking around you. And while this discomfort can feel frustrating, it's also sacred, because this is where transformation begins. Restlessness is the prelude to revelation. When God is preparing to shift your life, He first stirs your spirit. You begin to feel like something is missing, not because you're broken, but because you're being awakened. Your dreams get bigger. Your vision gets clearer. You start seeing wealth not as a fantasy, but as a responsibility, as a vehicle to serve, to lead, and to create impact. You begin to realize that your time, your energy, your gifts are not meant to be wasted. And once you see this truth, you can't unsee it. That gentle urge turns into a driving force. You may not know the full picture yet, but you know you can't stay where you are. This is how God calls His chosen ones. Not through loud announcements, but through a sacred unrest. That urge for more purpose, more growth, more alignment, is your confirmation that the journey to wealth has already begun. Trust it. Listen to it. Honor it, because the restlessness in your spirit is not rebellion. It's revelation. It's the sign that your life is about to change. You begin to notice something strange. Things start aligning without explanation. Ideas show up in your thoughts that feel like downloads from another dimension. A person you haven't spoken to in years suddenly messages you with a business idea. Someone introduces you to a mentor you didn't even know you needed. You stumble across an article, a video, a book, and it speaks directly to the question you silently asked the night before. What's happening here isn't coincidence. It's orchestration. When your mind aligns with your higher calling, when your heart opens to purpose, the universe and the divine begin moving in harmony to support your rise. You don't have to force every step anymore. You don't have to chase every outcome. When you walk in obedience to that inner nudge, life begins to respond. God begins to guide. And He doesn't always show up in lightning bolts or booming voices. Often He shows up in alignment. A closed door here. A surprising opportunity there. A delay that turns out to be divine protection. A redirection that later reveals itself as the only path that would have ever worked. These moments are subtle, but they are sacred. You start seeing the breadcrumbs. You start recognizing that you are being led. What once required endless struggle now starts to flow. The right people come into your life. The connections begin to feel meaningful, not surface level. Ideas come to you fully formed, and when you act on them, doors open. What others call luck, you begin to understand as guidance. It's not that the road is easy. It's that now your efforts are blessed. You're no longer moving blindly. You're being shown the way piece by piece, step by step. But these opportunities don't come randomly. They show up when you begin to walk with intention. When you release fear and choose faith. When you stop trying to control everything and begin to trust the process. That's when the divine steps in. That's when provision meets preparation. And what you must understand is these opportunities are not given to everyone. They are given to those who are ready. If they're showing up in your life, it's because you've done the inner work, even if you didn't realize it. You've been prepared, refined, shaped for this moment. This is how the spiritual and the practical collide. God gives you the vision, but He also provides the provision. And it often comes wrapped in small, unassuming packages: a conversation, a chance meeting, a random idea at 3 a.m. Your job is not to question it, but to respond, to act, to build. Because the opportunity you've been waiting for isn't coming. It's already here. The question is, are you present enough to see it? Are you brave enough to pursue it? These moments of divine alignment are not accidents. They are assignments. And when you recognize them, when you treat them with the seriousness they deserve, your life begins to shift. You stop living by effort alone and start moving with grace. And the more obedient you are to these signs, the more they multiply. This is what it looks like when heaven helps the faithful. When the mind is ready, when the spirit is willing, when your vision aligns with your values, you don't have to chase wealth. It begins to find you. Something inside you begins to change, not all at once, but gradually and undeniably. You begin to feel a new sense of urgency, not the kind that rushes or panics, but a calm, steady fire inside your soul. Suddenly, distractions no longer satisfy you, scrolling endlessly, wasting hours in meaningless conversation, living for the weekend. All of it starts to feel empty. You begin to wake up earlier, not because someone told you to, but because something inside you refuses to let you sleep on your potential. That is not willpower. That is transformation, a shift from the ordinary into the extraordinary. Without even realizing it, your habits begin to change. You're no longer pulled by pleasure. You are led by purpose. The things that once tempted you to procrastinate now seem foolish. You begin saying no more often, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. You protect your time, your energy, and your mental space because you've realized they are the soil in which your future is planted. You start to feel accountable to the version of you that you haven't even met yet. The higher version, the wealthier version, the more impactful version of yourself that is waiting for you on the other side of discipline. You start setting goals and actually following through. You create routines that elevate you. You no longer wait to be motivated. You become the motivation. This is where the difference is made. Many people wish for wealth. They dream, they talk, they visualize. But the ones who attain it are the ones who apply relentless focus. They remove what doesn't align. They act when others hesitate. They sacrifice when others indulge. And not because someone is watching, but because they've made a covenant with their own destiny. Discipline is not just about restriction. It is a declaration. It is you saying, I am serious. It is proof that your intentions are not empty. It is the bridge between your current life and the life you were created for. When you start living with structure, with strategy, with inner order, everything around you begins to respond. You attract different opportunities, different people, even different thoughts. You become magnetic to progress. And let's be honest, there will be days you don't feel like it. There will be moments of doubt, fatigue, even setbacks. But discipline doesn't negotiate with emotion. Discipline shows up whether or not it feels good. It is the steel frame that holds up your vision when motivation falls apart. If you are becoming more focused, more consistent, more intentional, that is not by accident. It is not just maturity. It is a signal. You are being shaped for something greater. Wealth does not come to the lazy, the scattered, or the inconsistent. It comes to those who can be trusted with responsibility, with power, and with freedom. When you feel yourself becoming more disciplined, know this: it is a spiritual sign that the doors of abundance are preparing to open. But those doors only respond to preparation. And every moment you say yes to your higher path, every time you choose your future over your feelings, you are proving yourself ready. The world may not notice your small efforts now, but heaven does. And it is those quiet decisions made in private that open the loudest opportunities in public. A powerful change begins to occur within you, one that cannot be taught by books alone or motivated by personal gain. It is a shift in how you see the world, and more importantly, how you see your role in it. You begin to realize that true success is not just measured by what you accumulate, but by what you contribute. It's not just about how high you climb, but how many people you lift as you rise. Your thoughts, your goals, your energy, they begin to revolve around service. Not in a self-sacrificing way, but in a deeply intentional and spiritual one. You understand that wealth created without purpose is hollow. You know now that the more people you help, the more value you create, the more doors will open in your favor, and the more fulfilled your soul will be. You begin to think beyond transactions. You no longer ask, "How can I get more?" But instead, "How can I give more?" Not give your money or time recklessly, but give value that elevates others. You look at problems differently. Instead of complaining, you ask, "What can I solve?" You look at pain in the world and think, "How can I be the one to bring a solution?" You begin to step into the mindset of creators, leaders, builders. Because those who serve become irreplaceable, and those who are irreplaceable are always in demand. Your ideas become bolder because they are no longer rooted in ego. They are rooted in purpose. You stop chasing validation. You stop needing to be seen. You realize that when you make your work about others, about impact, about legacy, success becomes a byproduct, abundance becomes automatic. You are no longer chasing the spotlight. Instead, you're becoming the light in dark places. And the world rewards those who light the path for others. This is the turning point for many who are led toward wealth. It's when your energy shifts from selfish ambition to sacred mission. You find joy in helping others win. You celebrate other people's progress. You support those around you without hidden agendas. Why? Because you understand that in the grand design of life, what you pour into others comes back multiplied. You realize that wealth is not taken, it is attracted. And the most magnetic force on earth is selfless service driven by genuine care. You also begin to understand that service is not weakness. It's not about being taken advantage of. It's about being strategic, intentional, and aware of the fact that every person you help, every life you touch, every solution you provide is a seed planted into your own future. And these seeds grow not just into income, but into influence, impact, and inner peace. As this mindset becomes your new foundation, your goals become clearer. Your vision expands. You're not just building for survival anymore. You're building for significance. You're not just chasing wealth to escape lack. You're building wealth to empower others. This is when God begins to trust you with more, because you've shown that your heart can handle the responsibility of abundance. You've proven that your intentions are not rooted in greed, but in greatness, the kind of greatness that uplifts others along the way. If you feel this shift, if you find yourself thinking about how your work can help, how your gifts can serve, how your presence can heal, then you are seeing one of the clearest signs. This isn't just personal growth. This is divine alignment. God leads those to wealth who understand that money is not the end, it is the means. The means to serve at a higher level, to give your family peace, to empower others, to build systems that outlive you, to be the answer to someone else's prayer. There comes a moment when the things that once thrilled you start to feel meaningless. The habits, the hangouts, the conversations you used to enjoy, they no longer inspire you. You look around at the life you built, the people you spend time with, the routines you follow, and something inside you says, this isn't it anymore. It's not that your life is falling apart. In fact, to outsiders, everything might look fine, but to you, it feels hollow. And that quiet dissatisfaction is not a curse, it's a call, a sacred invitation to rise to a higher version of yourself. It's a divine signal that you are outgrowing your old patterns and stepping into a season of transformation. You begin to notice how uncomfortable you feel in conversations that once excited you. Gossip, negativity, and surface-level talk become exhausting. You crave depth, you crave peace, you crave meaning. Your soul no longer feeds on noise, it's now searching for alignment. Even the environments you once tolerated start to feel heavy. The loud parties, the distractions, the social circles driven by ego or small thinking, they no longer fit who you are becoming. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you're being called to more. This shift is internal before it ever becomes external. You wake up feeling a tension between who you've been and who you're meant to be. And that tension isn't weakness. It's spiritual growth. The unease you feel is not depression or confusion. It's your higher self knocking on the door, saying, you've stayed here long enough. Your energy starts to pull away from anything that doesn't align with your purpose. And as painful as it may be to let go of the familiar, deep down you know it's necessary. Because clinging to the old will always cost you the new. This discontent is sacred. It's the soil where destiny grows. Every person who's ever stepped into wealth, not just financial, but mental, emotional, and spiritual wealth, has walked through this phase. They've had to shed their old skin. They've had to release identities, labels, habits, and sometimes even relationships that no longer serve their future. It's not easy, but it's essential, because what once felt like comfort begins to feel like a cage, and freedom always demands a decision. This is why many people stop growing, because when the old life starts to fall apart, they panic, they resist. They run back to what's familiar, even if it's toxic. But the brave, the ones who are truly being led to greatness, they honor the discomfort. They don't fight the shedding. They surrender to the process. They understand that everything falling away is making room for something greater to rise. If you feel unsatisfied with things you used to enjoy, don't numb that feeling. Don't ignore it. That discomfort is not confusion, it's clarity. It's proof that your spirit has expanded, that you can no longer fit into the life that was never meant to hold your full potential. And yes, this phase can feel lonely. People may not understand you. They might say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have changed. You're supposed to. Growth demands it, but remember this, you're not losing your life. You're outgrowing a version of it that was never meant to be your final chapter. You're making space for a new level, a higher level, one where purpose becomes your compass, one where peace is non-negotiable, one where wealth is not just about accumulation, but elevation. You are stepping into alignment with your calling. There will come moments on your path when things don't happen the way you planned. You'll set your goals, commit to your routines, pour your heart into your vision, and still the results won't arrive on your timeline. Doors will stay closed. Opportunities will seem just out of reach. Silence will echo where you expected answers. And in those moments, doubt begins to creep in. You start to wonder if you misread the signs, if your dream is too big, if maybe, just maybe, this isn't meant for you after all. But what you must understand is this: the delay is not a denial. It's not rejection. It's refinement. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. There is a sacred rhythm to timing, a divine order that unfolds not based on impatience, but on alignment. When you're being led to something extraordinary, The foundation must be solid. Sometimes the doors don't open because what's behind them requires a version of you that has not fully developed yet. You're still building the discipline, the character, the emotional intelligence, the spiritual resilience required to carry what's coming. Because make no mistake, what's coming is greater than you imagined. But it also demands more from you than the current version of yourself has offered. So God slows things down, not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. He lets certain things fall apart so you can rebuild with stronger vision. He places you in what feels like isolation so you can learn to hear your own voice without the noise of the crowd. He allows certain people to walk away, not as a loss, but as protection. He orchestrates detours that seem confusing in the moment but make perfect sense in hindsight. This is divine strategy, not human error. You see, when you're walking in purpose, delay is never empty. It's a classroom. It's where you learn patience, faith, adaptability, and trust. It's where your ego dies and your spirit grows. It's where you stop trying to control everything and start surrendering to the process. And when you finally reach the door, when it opens, you'll walk through it with the confidence of someone who's ready, not someone who's lucky. Because the delay didn't just hold you back, it made you stronger, wiser, sharper. The truth is, anyone can be excited when things are happening quickly, but the real test of faith is how you carry yourself when nothing seems to be moving. Can you still show up? Can you still serve? Can you still build? Can you still believe? That's what separates those who are merely interested from those who are truly called. Because the ones who endure divine delays with grace are the ones who receive divine promotion with power. So if things aren't moving right now, don't fall into despair. Don't measure your progress by visible outcomes alone. Measure it by who you are becoming. Because the wait is not wasted. It is working on you. Behind the scenes, alignment is forming. People you haven't met yet are being prepared to help you. Resources you don't see are being positioned. The path you're meant to walk is being cleared of obstacles you didn't even know were there. Just because you can't see the movement doesn't mean it's not happening. And one day, when the door opens, because it will, you'll realize that the delay was not a pause in your purpose. It was a powerful acceleration in disguise. What took years to wait for will feel like it happened overnight, but only because you stayed faithful when it would have been easier to give up, only because you trusted divine timing more than your own impatience. As we come to the end of this message, I want you to remember something deep and powerful. If you're seeing these signs, if you feel the inner restlessness, if doors are opening without force, if your habits are sharpening, if your focus is shifting from self to service, if your old life no longer excites you, and if delays are testing your patience, you are not lost. You are being led. These are not random events or emotional fluctuations. These are sacred indicators. Confirmation that something greater is moving in your life. You are not being overlooked, you are being molded. You are not falling behind, you are being aligned. True wealth is never just material. It's mental clarity, emotional peace, spiritual power, and the freedom to live in your highest purpose. And when you start to walk in that awareness, everything around you begins to change. The world starts to respond to your inner transformation. You attract differently. You move differently. You create differently. And yes, you receive differently. Because now you're not chasing wealth. You're becoming someone who naturally draws it in, not just for yourself, but for the betterment of others. So keep going. Stay awake to the signs. Trust the delays. Honor the transformation. And walk boldly, knowing that God doesn't show you the signs unless He plans to complete the journey. You are on the path. You are being guided. And your wealth, in every form, is not just possible. It's already in motion.